Welcome to this episode of Your Wellness MD podcast. Family physician and wellness expert, Dr. Daniela Stein, has meaningful conversations that will take your health to the next level. She explores the connection between a healthy body, mind, and soul, and shares tips that will enable you to thrive. Dr. Stein has helped thousands of people have a better quality of life by improving their health with science-based knowledge, education, better nutrition, mindfulness, and lifestyle choices. Join us today, empowering you to live your best life with optimal health.
Good day and welcome to the Wellness MD Health Talk Show. I'm Dr. Daniela Stein. I'm your host. I'm a medical doctor. I've done further training in functional medicine and in lifestyle medicine. And my passion is to help people live their best life with optimal health. We've had such incredible success that I'm teaching also other people to try to get the same results that I've had. And for that, I have podcast guests here with me. And today I'm so excited to have Dr. Prerana with me. Welcome, Dr. Prerana.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Dr. Prerana have done the same diploma as me in lifestyle medicine. So she's also a medical doctor in Canada. And we're recording here in Oakville, just outside of Toronto, where my flagship Wellness MD clinic is. At the Oakville Hospital, I teach here at McMaster University. And my passion is, my goal with this show, with this podcast, is for you, our listener, to have access to the same things that we give our patients that we see in lifestyle medicine. We really help people to take their health to the next level. We want you to have exactly the same things wherever you are. And I know we have listeners all over the world, but I want you to have access to the same evidence-based, scientifically proven research, things that you can do in your own life to take your health to the next level. So that's why I'm so super excited to have Dr. Prerana here. Dr. Prerana has a wealth of information. And I actually met you last year in Denver, Colorado, when we were at the Lifestyle Medicine Conference.
Yes.
And we met over a luncheon where there were a lot of Canadian doctors that further specialize in lifestyle medicine. And that is incredible.
Yes.
There's this whole new movement now.
The whole movement. It's like you found your tribe. Everyone there has the same energy. They're passionate about making change. And yeah, it's a great place. Yeah.
And it's such a shift now in medicine where doctors realize that just giving pills to our patients don't serve them. These are doctors who are passionate in helping our patients be healthier, be better. And we really look at the research and see with the research it shows that just giving people pills is not the answer, and then there's a lot of research that we can look at and say, but what is the answer? What are things that we can do to help our people, live their optimal life, with their best life, with lots of energy, with joy? So I'm so super excited to have you here. So tell us a little bit about you, your journey. What did you study? Where are you from?
So I guess this journey goes back to when I was 5.
Oh, wow.
I think I always wanted to be a teacher. My mom tells me I would run home after school, set up all my teddy bears, and then just lecture to them, whatever I did in school. But then I make a joke and say that, I'm Indian, so I had to go become a doctor, right? So that's one of those stereotypes that I think holds true. So here I am at the end of that full journey where I feel like I've combined both of those passions, and so made a new career for myself. But I went to Western for undergrad, and I studied health sciences with a focus on health promotion. And that was my first time learning the social determinants of health, awareness of the biopsychosocial framework. And I just fell in love with that concept of health, the larger, overall, comprehensive, holistic definition of health. And I even worked for the Ministry of Health, where I was working on a project looking at the emergency room wait times in Ontario. And that was a very cool experience, understanding our health from that system's perspective. And then I thought, I wanted the one-on-one patient experience, and, I still had to become a doctor because I'm Indian. So I went along that path, and I embarked onto medical school. And I studied abroad in St. Vincent and in Chicago. And again, equally enriching life experience. It was super cool, learning medicine, learning all the pathophysiology. But when I was in Chicago in my clinical years, that's when I started to see all of those social determinants of health manifest clinically.
So let's pause a little bit. For if there's anyone in our audience that's not that familiar with social determinants of health, what does it mean?
So in a simple nutshell, social determinants of health are the non-biological factors that can influence your health outcomes. So your health education. So how much education in general you've achieved in life can impact your health outcomes. So if you've got a higher education, you might have more access to health information, and therefore you might have better health outcomes. Or your socioeconomic status, meaning how much money you're earning, the level of prestige of your job, where you're living in life. All of those can also impact your health outcomes beyond just your biology and genetic factors.
So that's very important to understand. Quite often people come to me and say, my mom had dementia. What can I do to prevent getting dementia? And there are a lot of things. Or my mom had breast cancer. What can I do for breast cancer? Because it's only a very small percentage of people who get breast cancer that have a genetic component to it. So there's a lot of things that we can do to improve our health that is not genetically related. So if your mom or dad had a certain illness, they had diabetes, you're not doomed to get diabetes. There are things that you can do to prevent yourself from getting diabetes, but then it goes bigger than that. It's more about the importance of uplifting communities. And really from a government perspective, if you, especially here in Canada where we have social medicine, it is so important for us to look through health policy. What do we do with those social determinants? How do we help a whole population to be healthier? Also from a fiscal perspective, it's not just for doing good, it's also to prevent healthcare costs 20, 30 years down the line. If we uplift people now, employ them, provide better food, better exercise, better access, that will have a significant impact on their health 30 years later.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a collective effort, right? All different levels. Yeah. So government, policy, how your province is organized, how walkable the community is also impacts your health. And then, of course, what your healthcare provider is doing for you, and then what you're doing for yourself as well. There's all different layers definitely impact your health outcomes. So, and I saw that in Chicago, that, systemically there was a lot of challenge, just the poverty that some communities are facing, the violence and the trauma in certain communities. And that's what helped me realize that medicine transcends the clinic setting. So the 15 minutes or the 10 minutes that I had in the clinic was not enough. And I sort of felt a little bit useless, okay, it was great. We might have had a great conversation. Or if I was doing the trauma rotation, I might have, removed a bullet and irrigated a wound, and it was super cool, and I'm learning. So on one hand, it was great, but then that patient is just left to walk out into the world again without any understanding of how all of their social interactions and life outside of the clinic is impacting their mental and physical health. And that's when I sort of recognized that I needed to find something that was meaningful to me in this healthcare space that bridged everything I studied in undergrad, but also coupled in the evidence-based medicine that I'm learning in medical school. So, yeah.
And that makes such a profound difference. It can make a profound difference to whoever is watching our show now, listening to our show, to really understand how your physical health affects your mental health, how your mental health affects your physical health, how the people you surround yourself with affect you, how your education, your situation affects yourself. It really makes a difference. And just that you were talking about walkable communities.
Yeah.
If you go and live in a different community, and at certain points we have choices, but we often make those choices to be, regarding maybe finances. But if you have this more holistic view, it can significantly impact where you're going to end up in life.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's big. So you did your diploma in lifestyle medicine. So if there is anyone who's not that familiar with lifestyle medicine, and I'm so passionate about that, so I think most of my podcast listeners, but if there's someone new listening today, can you touch a little bit on what is lifestyle medicine?
Yeah, lifestyle medicine. Oh, so great. Okay, so lifestyle medicine is the evidence-based approach to managing, treating, and sometimes reversing chronic diseases. So chronic diseases such as diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, anxiety, anything that is ongoing, long-term, that you might need to see frequent doctor's appointments for. Those conditions up until now, we thought can only be managed with medication. But there's been a lot of research that shows that modifications to your lifestyle, so your health behaviors, how you're eating, how you're sleeping, all of that can impact the prognosis or the outcome of that condition. And so lifestyle medicine centers around 6 different evidence-based pillars. And when I say evidence-based, I mean there's actually research supporting or proving that these different pillars can impact your health. So,
which is big, right? Because a lot of our audience out there, there are so many TikTok videos, so many people standing on little soapboxes saying, do this for your health, do that for your health. But this is now helping you to know that this is doctors who looked at research, and there's actual research. It's not pharma pushed, so maybe, there's not medication or someone behind it pushing it, so maybe not. It's not maybe on big billboard, because it's really just sleep an hour more. No one is going to get money out of you sleeping an hour more, but you might live 3 years longer by sleeping that hour more. So it's little lifestyle changes, but it's things that has science behind it. So quite often we see with things, something might work for Prerana, it might not work for me. So we call that case studies, where it might, for that one Instagram person you're following, work great for them. But then as soon as you take that advice and you give it to 10,000 people, you want to see, did it help all 10,000 people? And that's when we start looking at research and evidence. So it's not just little case studies where it worked for some people on TikTok or some people on Insta. We look at what helped 100,000 people. So that is really bigger studies. And that's when we say that it's evidence-based.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think people like knowing that there's research that supports this.
Yes,
and so, if your doctor is recommending you to take a walk, it's not just your doctor saying take a walk because it's fun to do. There's actually evidence saying that, it's actually helpful, whether it's for your anxiety or for your insulin levels, whatever it be. So I love lifestyle medicine. And there's 6 pillars. So it's eating predominantly a whole food, plant-based pattern, adequate physical activity, stress management, adequate sleep, avoiding risky substances, and strong positive social connections. And I think the last pillar is probably my favorite, the strong connections. And I think that that's how we met, and everybody there is just eager to connect with like-minded people. And so that's why I like lifestyle medicine. It's very holistic, and I think it's applicable with any level of healthcare we were talking about. So on the governmental level, you can implement strategies that incorporate lifestyle medicine on an individual level, or even relationship-centered care with you and your patients. So that's why I love it. And that's sort of been my passion.
Nice. And you're really living your passion, and we'll get to that. I mean, maybe we should get to that at the end, how you're now living for your passion. Before that, let's go a little bit back. So I have many East Indian patients.
Yeah.
And then with East Indian people, there are certain illnesses that they get more. We often see people I work in a big hospital where we have a renal dialysis unit where people would, because of diabetes, develop end-stage renal disease. And that is big. That's why I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, why I have the talk show, why I have this wellness clinic here, because I want to help people. Quite often when I talk to people and they say they wish they could have met me 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And that's why I'm here. I want to talk to you 20 years before you have that. But let's talk specifically about South Asian people. Why are South Asian people at a high risk for cardiometabolic disease? Why is that?
A very complicated question for sure. As you mentioned, definitely genetics, we are predisposed just by biology. But I think you have to look at the lifestyle factors, the foods that we're eating, the way we're cooking the foods. And so a lot of South Asians, such as myself, we are vegetarian, right? And being vegetarian might be a little bit difficult to navigate in North America. Even though there are plenty of different options, the foods that are vegetarian might not be what we're used to eating and cooked with the same flavors that we're used to eating. And what that causes is a problem with overloading with carbohydrates, because we're sort of looking for that energy, right? We're looking for sustenance, and we don't eat meat, so we might be lacking a little bit in protein, and we lack this awareness of what types of plant foods will allow us to have more proteins. Or even if there are foods that we're eating that does have protein, we might overcook the vegetables, or we might use a lot of oil. So for example, chickpeas have a lot of proteins, and chickpeas, we've got a lot of dishes with chickpeas, but again, it depends on what type of oil we're using and how much oil we're cooking it in. If we're deep frying our foods, all of that impacts how it's metabolized in our body. And then I think coupled with our genetics, our metabolism might be a little bit slower. It might be not as optimal as we need it. And so I think these factors compound on each other. And then also, we are not living back in the motherland where our lifestyles were different. So back home, my family comes from a farming community. So they're planting their crops, they're going out to get all of the food, they're harvest. I don't even know the right words, because how do you get rice, right? So I go to the grocery store and I buy it off the shelf. But back home, they're living this more natural way of life. So even if they are eating carbohydrates, this is the way of life, and how much physical activity they're engaging with on a day-to-day basis is actually helping them decrease that insulin spike after they do eat a meal. And then they also have that social connectivity. Maybe they're farming with friends, or they eat and then they go outside for a walk because the weather's beautiful all the time. And, so all of that is it's not possible to sort of mimic that here. And so over the years, we've changed the way in which we live our lives, but we're not changing the way in which we expend energy, I think.
Yes, for sure. And that's profound. So it doesn't mean, the fact that you are South Asian, that you have to have cardiometabolic disease. But it does mean you have to be very smart the way you go about. So even if you grew up in a house where you ate predominantly, say, rice and roti, you can still eat that. You must just be aware that here you're dealing with genetically modified foods that is different than the foods that your grandparents dealt with. Yeah. So from that perspective, and you can definitely be a vegetarian and meet your protein needs, but you must be aware. Because if you just eat, if you don't have that awareness, you won't meet your protein criteria. If you don't meet your protein criteria, you're going to be more hungry, and then you'll fill up with more starchy foods. If you are aware that you have to focus on proteins, you are aware that you have to focus on whole foods, and modified foods would really be things that are processed, are foods that comes from a grocery store that was made in a factory. So foods the way you see it on a farm, whether it's corn or a sweet potato, the actual foods, that's not a problem. Where our problem comes in is if it gets made in a factory, all the good fiber is taken out, it's genetically modified, and then with this ultra processed foods, that if you do eat this beautiful roti that got made in a factory, when I buy it at a grocery store and I prepare it for my family, then you have a sugar spike that you might not have if you used your own wheat and you made it from more whole food yourself at home.
Yeah. And I think it's still possible to cook according to your culture, it's all about the spices. So really just go out and buy your chickpeas and buy the broccoli, come home and season it, according to your traditional heritage. And I think, if you're able to see those whole foods or understand what processes took place from the broccoli to your curry, if you can still understand that process, that's a good indication of whole food. So for example, apple to applesauce. You can kind of conceptualize how we got from an apple to applesauce, but that's a level of processing that went into play there. But then the apple to the applesauce to the apple fritter. You can't necessarily conceptualize how we got from the apple to the apple fritter, right? So there's so much more processing that happened. I like that way of thinking. So if I can see, yes, I've got my chickpeas, came home, I rinsed it out, maybe I sauteed
Made your
it.
own hummus.
Yeah, made my own
Good.
hummus. Yeah,
Good.
then you kind of understand how you got there. Yeah, exactly.
And those herbs and spices are very important. There's a lot of science showing us that those things have a lot of antioxidants in them, phytonutrients, especially through functional medicine. I did this nutrition course on how important those things are. Because typically when I cooked, I just wanted to be quick.
Yeah.
So I would look at the main ingredients, the top main ingredients, and then I'll leave out all the herbs and spices and things. But those are the things that you're talking about that makes your food taste like culturally, like home, like your food. And those are the foods that have the antioxidants that will help your skin glow, that will make your muscles stronger, that will feed your mitochondrial health, every little energy cell in every cell of your body. That is important. So don't neglect those spices.
No, definitely not. Yeah.
And then your personal journey. Tell us a little bit your personal journey. Why are you healthy now?
Why am I healthy now? I think I had to take a moment to pause and reflect, because I feel like I woke up one day and I recognized that life was happening to me and I was not an active participant. Not only that, I was living completely contradictory to what I was preaching, right?
And it's so easy. I get that. I'm not judging. I get that. So I'm so easy for patients to say, oh, stress less, sleep more, exercise. And then if you want to, teach at the university, run a medical clinic, be a hospital doctor, be a mom, things just happen that. And then I'm like, am I sleeping enough? Am I eating healthy enough? Am I getting in enough steps? So I get that.
Exactly. And so I had to take a step back to really self-reflect. What is it that's causing my stress? What is it that's preventing me from being active? Why am I struggling with my relationship with food? And then I sort of had to map out my journey and where I wanted to go, but make sure it aligned with my values. And so
that's big.
That's huge. It's huge. And I feel like in medical school, you don't pause to think about values or goal setting, because they're all set for you.
For our listeners, we have on our website a value finder. It's free. You can go on the website www.wellnessmdhealth.com. It's going to be a game changer. I really encourage you to do that. Download the value finder and find your value. Even if that's the one takeaway from this podcast, because you might be in a high flying job and your kids might be great in their rep sports, but then if you look at what are your actual values, then maybe money and prestige was never one of your values.
Yeah.
And you're never going to find full joy, full contentment if you live a life not geared towards your personal values. So that's profound.
No, 100%. And then the next step, I think, was adopting a growth mindset towards health and wellness. So it wasn't that I had to be perfect. It doesn't mean today I go to the gym and I'm now a marathon runner and now I eat only whole foods and I never go to Starbucks or ever eat out, or, I'm journaling all day and reflecting on values, right? It's not about that. It's about every day, am I making the small changes that are supporting my long-term health goals? Because I think it's difficult for people to understand that it's not the one ice cream, it's not the one roti that you ate that flipped you over to now getting diabetes, right? It's the long-term patterns. And I was living in patterns that were not really conducive to health. Even the intangible things like, being socially isolated when in school and just studying all the time, those concepts are sort of difficult to recognize that they're impacting your health. So I had to, like I said, take a pause, reevaluate the way in which I wanted to practice medicine. And I know we're going to get into this a little bit, but then the company that I do work for now, MyViva.
Jump into it.
Yeah, no, MyViva. And I'll jump into it. But there is a digital platform that I'm using called MyViva Plan that has really helped me get into this self-awareness piece. So I met in Denver the founder and CEO, Lorene Wales of MyViva, and it is an evidence-based digital platform dedicated to delivering lifestyle medicine solutions for patients with chronic disease. and it's centered on nutrition, fitness, and mental health. And really the goal is to allow patients to build that self-efficacy and self-awareness so that they can take ownership of their health and navigate their health in between clinic visits. And for the healthcare provider side of things, the program is really designed to help optimize their clinic visits, help them deliver high quality care in regards to lifestyle medicine. Because as you know, this is something you had to seek out in addition. It's not something we're taught in regular
I did
medical
extra
school.
course upon course to learn about nutrition, to learn about lifestyle, to learn about these things.
Whereas this organization, it's been built by regulated healthcare professionals, and they've poured it all into this technology. So now it saves time for clinicians. There's automated meal plans, there's automated workout videos, there's health coaching that's delivered in bite-sized pieces. So I was looking for a plan for my life. So it's funny because I ditched a plan in some capacity because I didn't want to go down the typical route that all doctors go down. So I ditched that plan. But when it came to my personal health, I needed more of a structure, something to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And I find a lot of people want that nowadays because we just give them general recommendations. You know, imagine someone came in with an ear infection and you said, oh, just take some antibiotics, you'll be fine. They're going to be like, which antibiotic, what pharmacy, how
many times a day?
Do I take it as a pill? Like, how does this work, right? But why do we do that with lifestyle and behavior modifications, right? And I think it's overwhelming for patients and it's overwhelming for us as healthcare providers also because we don't know how to navigate that. So I was overjoyed when I met Lorene at this conference in Denver because I felt like everybody was drinking the Kool-Aid. Everybody knew that lifestyle medicine was important and this is, you know, something we need to integrate, but I'd yet to find a platform that transitioned to the how. How can we do that? How can we build healthy behaviors moving forward instead of just getting stuck on tracking old behaviors or a general educational handout? And so, that's sort of how I guess I keep track.
Amazing. And then so for this, my dear, who has access to it? Is it accessible worldwide?
It is actually accessible worldwide.
So we'll put the links below.
That'd be great. There's a variety of different approaches. If anyone's interested, please reach out to me. My goal as the medical liaison is really to seek out healthcare providers and educate them on how they can integrate it into their clinic. So the model really would work as the healthcare provider having a subscription and then providing free access to their patients. And I think that's great because that enhances that physician-patient therapeutic relationship.
That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. So if I look at my clinic, for me to be able to provide lifestyle medicine, I needed more doctors. I have health coaches. I have nurse. I have dietitian, nutritionist. I have all these people to help patients implement lifestyle changes. But now for other doctors who maybe don't have a team of 10 people on their team to help their patients, they can now access this app to tell a patient, okay, so this is where you can find your meals, your food, your exercise, and then most importantly, that mental health piece to really understand the connection of what you're eating and how healthy your life is with what's happening in your mind. You know, everything is so connected. You can't have a perfectly healthy body without having a healthy mind. You can't have a healthy mind if you eat like very unhealthy foods all day. It is just the way it is. There's 90% of your happy hormone gets made in your gut. So if you eat ultra processed foods with very unhealthy oils every day, it is really going to be impossible for you to be happy. If you're not connected, that's a big thing, the social connectivity. The more research I learn on that, I'm like, oh my goodness. So they've shown that specifically there was this study done, a Swedish study where they looked at men, their risk of dying from a heart attack. The second biggest risk factor was social isolation. First one was smoking. Second one was social isolation. So your risk of dying of a heart attack is from if you're socially isolated, is bigger than having diabetes, having high cholesterol, not being active enough, having high blood pressure. As family doctors, we knew about all the other things, and we can treat cholesterol, we can treat diabetes, we can tell people to walk more, but being socially isolated. So it is so easy if you're in a family, if you have a wife and children and grandchildren and people around you, you should appreciate that, because that means you're going to live much longer. But then also for people who don't have that social connection, to realize the importance of developing those social connections, because it takes time, it takes effort. It means you'll have to join a group to play pickleball, you'll have to join a bingo group, you'll have to join a journal club, you have to go out of your own comfort zone, because you're investing in your health. And that's so profound.
No, it's the amount of research, just like you said. There's another study done by Harvard. It's one of the longest studies ever completed, and it looked at longevity. And they found that the number one predictor of longevity, or living to 100, was the quality of your social connections, and also having that sense of purpose in life. And it's great. I think, I studied medicine in St. Vincent, and I recently went to Dominica to teach as well. And looking at those cultures where people are more connected, they talk to their neighbors, they talk to strangers, they're having these micro moments of connection that are brief, authentic, meaningful interactions. And I just felt that people were happier. Here in Toronto, I'm on the go. I might be on a walk and there might be a million people surrounding me, but I'm sort of by myself.
And you won't talk to someone strange. If a stranger talks to you, you're going to be weird.
Yeah, it's like, why are you talking to me? Yeah, exactly. But then, think about when you go to the store, maybe you go to Winners and you're looking at a cute top, and then you see another woman, she likes the top too, and you guys have a 5-minute conversation about clothes. You probably feel so much joy because you're talking about something that you're both interested in, you're connected, and then you leave and you're like, oh, that was a really fun conversation about, makeup and clothes, and you go home feeling so much joy. So I think you're right. Yeah, we do need to seek out those social connections. And even if it's within your family, reach out more. I know we talked about the pandemic and how it was very isolating, but I feel like it would have been a greater problem if all of the internet and technology shut down, right? We have to be mindful with social media use. I completely agree. But it is an avenue for connection at times. And when we don't have another option, it's good to call your brother, call your mom, call your cousin.
And to realize the importance, right? Because I can see so easily, I have lovely friends in Australia, New Zealand. I don't call them because of the time difference. I have this amazing family in South Africa, where it's so easy to invest time in yourself and not in them. And it's expensive to go and visit, but then having this bigger picture, what is more important. And then even just with neighbors, people down the street, when we know the importance, when we connect, we'll connect more than just snuggle up before Netflix. But if you know it's important, then you put in some time and you arrange to meet with your neighbors, to go on a walk with a neighbor rather than on your own.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that goes back to reflecting on your values. Yes. So please go do the worksheet that she was talking about, because I think it's so important, because otherwise you just get caught up in your day-to-day routine. And again, you're not living intentionally. And
that's our hope for everyone who's watching this, everyone who's listening to this. Our hope for you is to live your best life with optimal health, with optimal joy. We would love to support you in your journey. I'll put all the links below for Dr. Prerana. Follow her, have a look at my VIA, especially for any healthcare providers. I know I have a lot of doctors who are patients, and there's a lot of doctors who are some of our YouTube subscribers and podcast listeners. Have a look at my VIA.
Please take a look. The links below. My Viva plan. It's there to help you, whether you just want to, take a step for yourself, or you want to incorporate it into your practice, or learn about lifestyle medicine. It's a platform to learn as well. I'd be happy to talk about it. I would talk about it all day. So
and small changes. We don't, if you don't have to think, oh my goodness, I have to go plant-based. You can just start by adding one veggie to your breakfast, one veggie to your lunch, one extra veggie to your dinner. then you can make sure that you just increase your steps every day in the morning when you get up, before breakfast, before coffee, just to go for a walk. Say hi to your neighbor. It's small changes. I always say we're like a very big ship on the ocean. Making a very small 1 degree change now can dramatically differ where you end up. If you just keep on where you're going, you can reflect. Maybe you're going to end up where you want to be, then you're good. But if you think, oh my goodness, I'm maybe not going to end up strong and healthy at 96. I need to make tiny little changes. Then you can make those tiny, tiny, tiny changes now, and it will dramatically differ where you're going to end up 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Yeah, 100%. So good luck to everybody on that health journey. I think you can do it. And like you said, it's that growth mindset. Take a step, take a breath. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. I think that's
exactly.
Ancient Asian philosopher. Yeah. So.
Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. That would mean the world to me. Subscribe to my newsletter, then you'll get health information into your inbox. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode today by medical doctor Daniela Stein. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter at www.wellnessmdhealth.com to stay up to date on educational resources that will take your quality of life to the next level. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your healthcare provider. Never disregard medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Remember, you are created to thrive.